Good morning, this is Dimitri Lascaris coming to you on August 28th, 2024 from Rafic Hariri Airport in Beirut, Lebanon. I'm about to board a flight to Athens after having spent the last 8 days here, mostly in the southern part of the Lebanese territory south of the Litani River, where the combat has been most intense during these 11 months or so. And just to summarize what happened while I was here and what I saw, first I visited the site of the assassination of the top Hezbollah military commander, Fuad Shukr. He was assassinated by Israel on July 31st, setting off a potentially escalatory spiral that would lead to a massive war. And I did a report from the building that was largely destroyed by an Israeli airstrike and killed him along with 2 children and 2 women. Then we went south to the Lebanese coastal city of Saida, and there we visited the site of the assassination of a Palestinian leader, a PLO leader based in Lebanon. He had been assassinated by a drone strike, I believe it was, while he was in a vehicle outside the Palestinian refugee camp in Saida, which is the largest Palestinian refugee camp outside of Palestine. We then went to the Litani River, and from the banks of the Litani River gave a report on the situation there, and crossed over into the south after delivering that report. As those of you who watched that report will know, Israeli warplanes were active in the area and could be heard overhead during the time of our report. Then we went and stayed in a house, a private residence, overlooking the Al-Manara military base of Israel in the occupied Galilee. We stayed there 2 days, and one of the things we did, other than observing airstrikes and drone strikes, or at least hearing them, nothing happened in our immediate vicinity, but there were many explosions while we were there, and we could hear, again, warplanes and drones active overhead at the time that we heard those explosions. Then we visited a village where a recent Israeli drone airstrike about 2 weeks prior to our visit had leveled a 3-story residence, killing 3 militants of the Islamic resistance and injuring dozens of civilians who lived nearby. Then we went to Mount Safi, which is in the south of Lebanon. It's about 1,300 meters high. It overlooks all of South Lebanon and a good part of northern occupied Palestine. From there, I completed a report about our visit on our final day near the border of a village called Aita al-Shab, which is of historic importance in terms of the resistance. We were able to gain access to this village, which has been evacuated because hundreds of villagers returned briefly to the village to attend a funeral of an Islamic resistance fighter who came from the village and had been killed by a drone strike on the prior day. So while we were there, we surveyed the extensive damage. As I say, I completed that report while we were on Mount Safi, and then from Mount Safi we observed a lot of drone activity, or at least heard drone activity, and we saw one airstrike in the distance, but again, nothing near us. And then I returned to Beirut, and then within 10 hours of our departure from the south and our arrival in Beirut, the Islamic resistance launched what it described as its retaliatory strike on Israel for the assassination of top resistance commander Fuad Shukr. I must say that when that happened, I didn't know whether I'd be able to leave Lebanon, but so far there are still flights, so I am able to depart today, which was my plan all along before the retaliatory strike happened. Just as a side note, it doesn't appear that any Western airlines, other than Qantas, the Australian national carrier, are flying into or out of this airport now. I haven't seen any American, Canadian, or European airlines. They're all Middle Eastern airlines plus Qantas. So there was a significant number of people trying to leave today. It took quite some time to get through the security and the passport control. but it didn't seem like an unusually large crowd. It's the kind of crowd you would expect at the height of tourist season in the summer. In any event, I'll just say a few things about what may lie ahead. As I've previously reported in a conversation with geopolitical analyst Laith Marouf after the retaliatory strike, the Israeli government claims that the dozens of attack drones and hundreds of Katyusha rockets fired by the Islamic resistance on Saturday morning as their retaliatory strike were all intercepted, every single one of them. Now, I think we can say with a high level of confidence that this is utter nonsense. It's so absurd as to elicit laughter. And why do I say that? Because for 11 months, the Islamic resistance has been striking military targets in northern occupied Palestine, Israeli military targets, and has filmed many of those attacks and published footage of the attacks getting through. It also sent surveillance drones into northern Israel, going all the way to Haifa, and captured much footage, which it published, of military bases, military assets, and also dual-use infrastructure in these areas. And obviously, because they were able to publish this footage, the drones were not intercepted. And I myself saw an attack on my last visit to Lebanon in May. When I was in the south, I saw an Islamic resistance attack on the Israeli military base of Metula, and they struck. I was right there. I saw it from atop Beaufort Castle in the south, and they struck the military base with numerous artillery shells, and then to finish it off, the attack, they launched and hit the target with a thermobaric missile. I believe it's called a Burkan, and it created a huge fireball and explosion. We saw this. We didn't see any air defense missiles in the sky when this attack occurred, so apparently the air defense missiles of Israel weren't even activated, let alone intercepted these shells and this missile. So it strains credulity in the extreme to suggest that every single of these hundreds of Katyusha rockets was intercepted, and that all of these attack drones were intercepted. And in fact, the Israeli military, even though there was a ban immediately imposed when the attack began by the Israeli government on reporting damage in Israel, which in and of itself is highly suspicious. I mean, if there was no damage, why would you impose a media ban on discussing the results of those attacks? But in any event, the Israeli media now is not saying. I saw a report today in the Times of Israel that the defenses were completely successful. Now what they're saying is that they were largely successful. So it's unclear exactly how many got through and what damage was done, but I think we can safely say that a good number of those missiles and attack drones got through, and there was significant damage. I doubt we'll ever know with any reasonable degree of certainty exactly what happened. What's most important at this stage is that the Israeli government doesn't seem interested at this time in a potentially provocative retaliatory strike. Myself, I think it will eventually come, and maybe it has made the decision not to escalate the war with the Islamic resistance in Iran any further prior to the election in November, because that would potentially create problems for Kamala Harris, and they need Kamala Harris's support, and there's absolutely no indication she's going to stop sending weapons to Israel if and when she becomes the President of the United States. And any suggestion that she actually is going to materially alter U.S. policy towards Israel in a manner that benefits the Palestinian people is a fantasy. There's just no basis. People are their record. That's who they are. Look at her record. No reason to think that she is going to put a stop to this genocide. And her platform, the DNC platform, is extremely belligerent towards Iran. Repeatedly calling Trump a weak on Iran when he was the president, even though he assassinated the top Iranian general, Qasem Soleimani, in Baghdad, along with resistance leaders in Baghdad. And even though he withdrew the United States from the Obama-era nuclear deal, which Iran was respecting, and which was effective to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon, He withdrew the United States from this deal over the objections of his so-called allies in Europe, and imposed crushing sanctions on Iran again. And yet the Democratic National Committee and Kamala Harris seem to believe that Trump was too weak on Iran. I think this bodes very ill for what is going to happen after the election. And who knows, there may be a further escalatory strike before the election, in particular by Iran, because we have not yet seen anything that could credibly be characterized as a retaliatory strike by Iran for the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader of Hamas, in Tehran on July 31st, the same day as Israel assassinated Fuad Shukr. The Iranian government came out right away and said that this was an extreme provocation. There would be a severe response, and they even characterized it as an assault on the honor of the Iranian people. So I think it's extremely unlikely that Iran will not retaliate. I think it's taking its time because the waiting is costing Israeli society and the economy. That the prospect of a major attack from Iran has real costs, psychological costs and economic costs, but also I think they want to be maximally prepared for retaliatory strikes from Israel. So they're taking their time, but hard to imagine that they're not going to fulfill their vow to attack Israel in a much more effective manner, damaging manner than they did the first time a few months ago, after Israel destroyed the Iranian consulate in Damascus in flagrant violation of international law. And when that happens, all bets are off as to what is going to transpire in the Middle East. We are on a trajectory for a major war. There are no adults in the room in the penthouse, the White House, I should say, the Pentagon, the State Department, all the people who appear to play a significant role in decision making with respect to U.S. government foreign policy in the region seem, by their actions, not their rhetoric, by their actions, which of course speak louder than words, to be hell-bent on escalating this into a full-blown and decisive war against Iran and Hezbollah, probably after the election. That's my best read on the situation. I certainly would love to be wrong about that. In any event, I'm about to get on the flight. They're about to close the gate, so I better get on my plane to Athens. I'm going to publish today, or will have published by the time this video is up on my YouTube channel and my Rumble channel, the last report that I did from the south of Lebanon, which was an interview of Al Mayadeen war correspondent Ali Murtada, who is famous throughout Lebanon and in much of West Asia because of his extremely provocative brand of war journalism and his amazing courage. Whatever you may think about his political views, no rational human being would contest the fact that Ali Murtada is a person of exceptional courage. So I hope you enjoy that, and if you like this video and that video, please like them and share them, and please subscribe to my YouTube and Rumble channel if you haven't already. My Rumble handle is @Dimitri Lascaris, and my YouTube handle is @Dimitri Lascaris 3051. This is Dimitri Lascaris coming to you from Beirut, Lebanon on August 28th, 2024.